And when Jericho tries to change one of these finishes, he goes to Fit Finley and has Fit sort of back him up on it. And then when Fit comes and tells Rob, he says, fuck it, I'm just going home. Around this time, did you start to feel like maybe the wheels were running off for Rob when he would start to say, I'm just going home? Obviously, it's a different time. Wins and losses don't matter like they used to, but when a guy gets under your skin, you sort of just don't want to do anything for that motherfucker anymore, right?
Well, if somebody's answer is, yeah, I want to go home, which, by the way, I don't know that Rob ever said that, to me like that or to anybody else in a position really of power. He may have felt that way, and he may have said it to other people. And definitely there were times when I know Rob was frustrated with me in particular. I'm sure we're going to talk about that, in this episode. But I don't remember him, ever threatening to go home. But if he did, that would be something. And if he made that known in the locker room and that got out, then people probably would say, okay, why are we wasting time with him if he wants to go home?
You guys really started to feature him, though, on the September 4th Smackdown. He gets a win over the world champion, Stone Cold Steve Austin, clean in the middle. In a lot of ways, it's almost like a dream match. It's the biggest star in ECW against the biggest star in WWE history, and Rob gets the win. What was the thinking here in putting Rob over Stone Cold in September?
A test to kind of see, what that reaction would be and see how people were going to buy it. The chemistry, also see what the chemistry was with Steve and RVD. Just see what we had there. So throw it out there and let's find out.
It almost felt like you guys were really running a test to see, could we sort of position him as maybe like a new leader for the Alliance and have Austin and Van Dam sort of feud? Was that maybe an idea of, let's see how this goes?
I'll tell you, the Alliance stuff with Steve and Rob, to me, was where I really fell in love with RVD because I didn't really know him that well, just kind of superficially. However, when we were doing stuff with Steve and Steve was doing the stuff with his watch and doing the what and listening to his watch and everything, we're shooting and I'm telling Rob, just act natural, just react and play with it. Because I wasn't a big one for scripts, as Brian Gewirtz would tell you. So I would let the guys freestyle a lot of times. If it worked, we went with it. So Steve's looking at his watch and putting his watch up to his ear, and RVD takes the watch and puts the watch up to his ear. It's like, what are you listening to, man? But it was real, and it was something that I think everybody wanted to do, but they're looking for a script. And no, I wasn't told to do that. And I told Rob freestyle with it, and he did, and it was good. Steve and Rob had a chemistry in backstage in the vignettes, and that's what led us to go, there may be something here. And it was just a good chemistry.
In their match, Steve takes a Van Daminator and gets busted open in the process. Allegedly, Steve had no problem putting him over and knew that he was going to get cut open here. Any sort of blowback from that? Do you think you're cutting your biggest star?
No. I mean, again, Steve had no problem with it, and I don't know that he knew he was going to get busted open, but he knew that chair was coming. Shit happens, man. It ain't ballet.
On the September 10th Raw, Rob loses the hardcore title to Kurt Angle by tapping out to the ankle lock at the top of the ramp. And after the match, Austin throws them both off the stage. So then RVD pins Angle to regain the title, which is kind of fun. And he's really building momentum here. I mean, let's appreciate he's having matches with both Angle and Steve Austin. There's sort of an interesting story that he had around 9/11. He was traveling with Mike Awesome, and of course 9/11 happens, and they're way out in San Antonio, not where they live, and a lot of stuff's going down, and we'll talk about that on another episode because there's a whole story here that we'd like to share. But that first Smackdown in Houston on September 13th is really the first public assembly in the country since the attacks happened. And on that match, or on that night, Rob beat Spike Dudley. And I'd love to tell the story of 9/11. Do you want to sort of give everybody maybe a teaser of what we might be covering if we ever cover that 9/11 Smackdown?
Oh, wow. Well, actually, okay, I'll give you a little tease. Actually, on 9/11, within hours of planes flying in to the World Trade Center, this horrible tragedy, I was on the phone and I had the happenstance to be on the phone with President Bush's handler, now the father, which again, rest in peace, Barbara Bush. She was a wonderful lady. I had the pleasure of meeting her and traveling with her. Great, great lady, and she'll be sorely missed. But her husband, President Bush, was a good friend of Mattress Mac, who we've talked about on this show. And in the midst of all these crazy things happening, our show being canceled and not knowing what the hell's going on, there's business things that have to happen as well. And I happen to find myself on a phone with Mr. Bush, President Bush's handler. And while everything's going on, I asked the question, could the president make the show if we have it live on Thursday? And if you guys would ever vote for that, I'll tell you what happened after that. The handler's reaction, Vince McMahon's reaction, Stephanie's reaction, and what actually happened that day. But 9/11 was a horrible tragedy in America. And to me, that day was so damn personal. But we were able to pull off the first public assembly in the United States in Houston 2 days later. And we got the blessing from the White House to, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. We got the blessing from everyone in Houston that they were willing to do it and accept the responsibility. We had shitloads of security, and the hoops that we had to jump through to actually have that event take place was magnificent in and of itself. But it's one of those, where were you when that happened? And I was in Vince McMahon's room, and we watched the second plane hit together live. So it was an incredible day.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.